The National Retail Federation says participation in spending this Halloween is expected to return to pre-pandemic levels, with spending predicted to reach a record $10.6 billion. That's higher than last year's record. Reporter Jen Sullivan takes a look at who's spending the most this spooky season and on what.
Inflation and recession fears not scaring away trick-or-treaters this spooky season. According to the National Retail Federation, Halloween spending could reach a record level this fall.
They're planning to celebrate in more ways than they did during the pandemic, but they may be a little bit more budget conscious.
The NRF says 69% are planning to celebrate this year. That's up from 65% last year and 1 percentage higher than 2019. The NRF expects Americans will spend $10.6 billion this year, despite soaring prices.
We know that inflation is certainly top of mind for consumers, but what we're hearing so far is that people are still prioritizing the holiday.
The NRF says consumers plan to spend an average of $100 this holiday. Costumes are the biggest expense at $3.6 billion, followed by decorations at $3.4 billion. And candy at $3.1 billion. The NRF also says younger consumers, Gen Z, are celebrating more than any other age group.
Consumers under the age of 25 are turning out in full force. About 87% say they're planning to celebrate the holiday this year, and we're seeing the highest levels of spending in areas like adult costumes that we've seen in about 5 years.
Now that COVID-related restrictions are easing, they're more comfortable partying, going on bar crawls, and attending social gatherings. The NRF says they're also putting a focus on dressing up this year.
They're getting inspiration from TikTok, from Instagram, from Pinterest, and other social platforms.
For today's Consumer Watch, I'm Jen Sullivan.
Meanwhile, 1 in 5 people plan to put their pet in a costume. Pet spending is expected to exceed last year's record high, reaching $710 million. Speaking of big money, tonight's another big money Powerball drawing. Right now, the jackpot is at an estimated $1 billion. There were no top prizes winners on Saturday's drawing, though 6 people did win a $1 million prize in California, Maryland, Michigan, and Texas, with one more winner in Florida doubling their earnings to $2 million. Tonight's drawing is for the second largest jackpot in Powerball history. Twitter is considering charging users for that coveted blue badge. The blue check mark lets people know that an account of public interest is authentic or verified. It's particularly helpful for companies and influential accounts. According to internal Twitter documents, the update would have verified users paying $19.99 a month for the service. If existing users don't start paying for the product within 90 days, they could lose their verified status. It's unclear if some verified users may be exempt from paying the fee. Many international organizations and charities, for example, are verified on Twitter. Stay with us. I'm not sure who's coming back, Hutch or his skeletal friend, but somebody's going to have your Halloween forecast and beyond.